Very messy.
Is that a reflection? Or?
Yeah, well, no, not really, because it was an expansive conversation, and I really appreciate everyone who came. And people voted with their feet regularly in our group. They came and they went, and it was, but everybody contributed quite beautifully to the process, and it was a real journey. And we sort of struggled along the way with this whole integration of the idea of spirit and politics and the sort of the balancing nature of those aspects. And we floated from asylum seeker issues through to how do we create a new democracy. Because Bill put, so some of it was the problem. There is the problem, and some of the problem is the rules of order and the debating issues that we currently have in politics, which is really just to win at all costs, and it doesn't matter which side you're on really, just as long as your side wins, rather than progressing the idea for the national good. And Bill posed a really interesting question early in the piece, which was perhaps if we could get full participation, this, with 300,000, say, in Tasmania as a great opportunity to shift democracy, shift politics, and introduce spirit into it, maybe a participation model, or representation model of having groups of about 50, and 6,000 of those would make 300,000 voters, and they could then be represented to 110, up represented to 20 in total. And that would then allow people to participate fully and set agendas and at their smaller group meetings and set propositions and put that forward. So we had quite a conversation about that for a while. But then it actually moved, interestingly, back to the spirit side of things and the appreciation of people living their values. And we had a great example of the Blue Angel movement in Germany, I think it was, Karen said, I think it was, and where people just decided that they weren't going to take in the supermarket waste, all the packaging and things like that. So at the counter, when they were just leaving the store, they would unwrap everything and leave it with the shop where they just bought it. And it just grew like wildfire and became such an issue for the stores that they had to actually shift. And it was a local, political, disruptive action. And it's pretty much where our thinking then began to then sort of go in terms of, actually it's possibly not about so much about a monolithic kind of representational model right across the state and let's try to fix a broken system, rather than a disruptive effort of acts of spirit politics by basically people who are committed to an action and having flash mobs, basically flash issues. And it's already happening, of course, around the world at the moment with some groups like Change.org and ours and Get Up and a number of others. And we had a huge win in Tasmania many years ago around the Franklin Dam, and that brought a community together around the issue. In fact, brought a country together, and all the spin-off effects of just wanting to save this pristine river made all of these larger differences as well to the whole politics, and really was a huge movement, environmental movement has sprung a lot from the efforts around that and the PETA before that. But because we looked at other ideas of people moving up from like joining local, state and federal politics, so that if you're elected for 3 years, then you go from 1 year in local government, next year in state government, next year in federal government. So you can take your perspective forward rather than getting entrenched in whatever system you're in, which was an interesting idea I think Jamie raised. But also one of the problems that we identified was people playing the ball, playing the person in our politics at the moment, rather than playing the ideas and actually advancing the ideas, and needing some sort of new language to call foul. So we're basically saying that is a foul act that we're doing by bullying our Prime Minister, for instance, but mercilessly for 3 years, and not really having a language to then shame that kind of play in the political power spectrum. Do you want to say something, Peter?
Just very quickly, I think Michael and I initially had this sort of binary oppositional hierarchy between spirit and the political, and we felt like maybe on certain levels that they were almost mutually exclusive, particularly in this day and age of economic rationalism. Bill really catalysed a kind of a paradigm shift in our thinking and our group when he brought up the issue of socio-technological change being a potential catalyst for a new kind of realpolitik, I guess. We obviously, as Marshall McLuhan once said, you know, live in a world where the medium is the message, and the ability to adapt not just to climate change, but also to an increasingly hyper-mediatised society in an effective communicational way could well be the key to recreating the Athenian notion of the demos, of a true people-orientated form of democracy, which really serves the intergenerational equity needs of the future generation in a more sustainable way.
Thanks, Peter. So it was really, you know, that's fantastic. It was really all about altruism and people living their values and joining together to live their values in a smaller or larger community aspects, community efforts, and taking these sort of intentionally disruptive acts of spirit and politics.